The Council of Style was not supposed to be a military committee, yet here they were, surrounded by high-ranking commanders, debating whether Earth's standard-issue combat hoodie was a joke or a war crime. Ambassador Carell of the Jaan species, a towering bioluminescent insectoid with a flair for capes, gestured with one of his 4 chitinous limbs at the image projected mid-air. This thing? Carell stammered. This hoodie? Is this truly what the humans wear into battle? Yes, General Marker of the Linar Coalition said flatly, her deep blue skin darkening in clear discomfort. They also wear something called cargo pants. The room burst into overlapping translations of laughter. Torshik from the Kellar Dominion nearly spit out his nutrient gel. Cargo pants, he wheezed. Do they carry goods into battle? Perhaps they trade during firefights. Another round of wheezing. A Sith diplomat passed out from oxygen deprivation due to excessive amusement. It was supposed to be a fashion debrief, a harmless cultural download after the unexpected skirmish on Atraxis 9. Instead, they were staring down a phenomenon no analyst had predicted. Human clothing had utility. Unironically. General Marker didn't smile. You mock it now, she said quietly, but we lost 12 elite scouts in the initial encounter. One of them was defeated when a human used the drawstring of his hoodie as a garrote. The laughter faltered. That's not real, muttered Carell. Marker turned to her aide. Roll the footage. A holographic recording played in grainy, chaotic clarity. Night vision, low-gravity terrain, human shapes darting behind rubble. One figure in a grey hoodie appeared on the left, casual, almost lazy in posture, until he spun behind a Kalar scout, looped his hoodie string around the enemy's neck, and yanked. The scout flailed. The human dropped him, adjusted his hood, and vanished into the dark like it was Tuesday. No one laughed now. Corporal Dax Beans Marlowe adjusted his boots and took another bite of a protein bar that tasted like burnt carpet. You know, he said through a full mouth, they keep asking us why we don't wear that full-body plastic armor like the rest of them. Next to him, Specialist Raina Tran snorted as she zipped up her weathered tactical jacket, somewhere between a windbreaker and a defiant middle finger to alien military standards. Because I like bending my knees, Dax. Also because it doesn't scream, "Hi, I'm a big glowing target." Their boots were coated in ash. The moonscape of Atraxis 9 was harsh, razor winds, electromagnetic storms, freezing nights. The Linar Coalition had to deploy heat packs just to function here. The humans. Layered cotton, Tran muttered, tapping the cuff of her long sleeve. Who knew? Dax grinned, shifting his weight so his reinforced jeans creaked slightly. He had 4 field rations, a multi-tool, a flare, and what was left of an alien hard drive all stuffed into his pants. Pockets, baby. You're disgusting. Disgusting, but prepared. Their comms buzzed. Movement on Ridge 6. Confirm and intercept. They stood, dusting themselves off without ceremony. No armor polish, no ritual chant. Just 2 humans in what the galaxy considered civilian attire, slouching their way into an ambush. The alien coalition had a checklist for war zones: thermal gear, optical scanners, biosuits, neural mesh armor, and of course, tactically color-coded robes depending on division. Humans. They brought duct tape, caffeine pills, and outerwear that hadn't been in fashion since before the fall of Blockbuster. Worse, it worked. Commander Trexil of the Alivar watched in confused horror as human forces dismantled a fortified outpost on Atraxis Ridge. His troops had been briefed. The humans were under-equipped, vulnerable, probably cold. Instead, they were everywhere. One of them, a female with a bandana and puffer vest, had apparently climbed a rock face with nothing but shoelaces and spite. Another had pulled a solar panel from her backpack mid-battle, used it to blind his sniper, and was now boiling noodles on it. Trexil had made a mistake, a grave one. He had mocked the clothing. At Coalition command, panic was setting in. "What is this?" hissed an analyst, pointing to a paused frame of a human scout crouched in shadows. "That coloration, that texture, what is it made of?" "It's called denim," said a terrified intern. "It's cotton, mostly, reinforced with thread." "Thread? You mean string?" "Yes. It deflects our plasma blades." "Yes." Silence. Then, "How much string do they have?" The intern just whimpered. On the ground, Corporal Marlowe had just weaponized another hoodie. The alien patrol had caught him off guard. They moved fast, like spider robots on caffeine, but he'd moved faster. Dropped to the ground, grabbed a handful of dirt, flung it in the leader's eyes, then pulled off his hoodie mid-roll and used it to hog-tie the last 3 attackers while shouting, "Wrangle 'em up, cowboy!" Tran arrived 10 seconds too late, blinking at the pile of groaning insectoids wrapped in cotton blend. "You good?" she asked, eyebrow raised. Marlowe nodded, panting. "Yeah, just little winded. Might have pulled something." She kicked one of the aliens to make sure it stayed down. "You hog-tied them? With a hoodie? It was a gift from my aunt." "I see." He pulled it back on and grimaced. "Smells like bug now." The next report to the Intergalactic Defense Board read like satire. The humans have leveraged their fashion in a tactical manner. These pockets enable the transport of numerous survival tools. Their hoods offer rapid concealment and weather protection. Fabrics are self-insulating. Jeans are strangely resilient. Boots are equipped with grips that allow traversal over terrain our own suits cannot manage. Also, they have socks. What are socks? They prevent frostbite. Why haven't we developed socks? One board member fainted. Another immediately commissioned a sock division. It wasn't just their utility that frightened the galaxy, it was the casual confidence with which humans treated their fashion-based warfare. While other species debated drone regulations and ceremonial helmet sizes, humans argued about zipper quality. "You know what's underrated?" Marlowe said one evening, huddled around a fire made from alien manuals. "The inside pocket." Tran looked up. "The what?" He unzipped the inside of his jacket and pulled out an energy pack, a folded map, and half a sandwich. "Boom! Tactical sandwich." Tran stared. "I hate you." It wasn't long before the alien factions began copying human outfits. Horribly. Kalar soldiers began attaching pouches to their armor like barnacles. The Sith tried wearing trench coats but misunderstood the purpose and installed 12 collars. One species made denim armor. It did not breathe well. Some tried wearing hoodies without understanding their cultural context. One ambassador introduced himself by flipping his hood up and saying, "What's up, fam?" That species no longer exists. By the end of the Atraxis campaign, it was clear. Human fashion wasn't just clothing, it was camouflage, it was gear, it was psychological warfare, because nothing was more terrifying than someone walking into battle looking like they'd just rolled out of bed and winning. And when the alien high command reviewed the final footage of the Atraxis campaign, Marlowe duct-taping a plasma grenade to his boot while wearing fingerless gloves and laughing, they didn't see a soldier. They saw the end of fashion as they knew it. The emergency summit was convened on Tau Ceti Prime in record time. 14 species, 40 delegates, one agenda, the human fabric crisis. "Tell me again," rasped the Vaxari speaker, adjusting his ceremonial headdress made of fiber optics. "Why a sweater brought down an armored convoy?" Admiral Lorin of the Threx Collective didn't blink, mostly because her species didn't have eyelids. She clicked her mandibles once, grim. Because the sweater in question was lined with synthetic wool, held 2 thermal grenades, and was used to absorb an entire EMP blast. The human wearing it said, and I quote, "Good thing Grandma knits with love and Kevlar." The room fell into stunned silence. A fashion delegate from the Rilari Confederation raised a trembling frond. "And these pockets? Are they biological?" "They're stitched." "With thread?" "Yes." "Into the flesh?" "No." "Then how are they not removable?" "They are, but they refuse to remove them." The frond collapsed in horror. Meanwhile, back on Atraxis 9, Corporal Marlowe was sewing. "Yes, I can sew," he said, as Tran looked on, baffled. "My mom didn't raise a useless idiot." "You're literally using an alien's combat bandolier to reinforce a jacket. It's called upcycling, Raina, Earth's most passive-aggressive form of revenge." He looped the final strap into place and tugged the makeshift chest-rig hoodie over his head. It was hideous, tan alien canvas stitched to charcoal cotton with neon threading, but functional. In the right sleeve, 6 micro-tools. In the left, 2 emergency nutrient bars. Across the chest, a row of flare holders, and somewhere near the back hem, a sealed compartment labeled "Spare Socks" for morale. "Functional fashion," he said with pride. "You look like a dumpster swallowed a thrift store." He winked. "Exactly. Nobody wants to fight that. Alien strategists began identifying a horrifying pattern. Human apparel was unpredictable. One soldier had turned a belt into a sling to launch rocks. Another had used a shoelace to tie off a bleeding limb and rig a proximity mine. A medic wore a hoodie lined with gauze. A pilot kept thermal packs in his hat. A sniper carried a collapsible drone inside her cargo pants. Each garment was a Swiss Army knife wrapped in sarcasm. And the worst part, none of it matched. "They don't even have color coordination," shrieked the head of the Galactic Uniform Bureau. "They violate every known aesthetic code." He was last seen trying to staple matching armbands to himself. High above the warfront, the warship Taravik's Crescent intercepted a human reconnaissance team. 3 individuals. 2 of them were wearing mismatched jackets, one a faded red hoodie, the other what appeared to be an old Earth sports team windbreaker that said Cleveland Rules in cracked vinyl letters. The third wore no jacket, just a black tank top that read, "Don't talk to me until I've dealt with your planet." The aliens prepared for capture. 30 minutes later, the ship was on fire. Council Command scrambled for answers. Dignitaries in embroidered robes and nano-weave togas paced nervously. "How did humans become so fashionably violent?" one wailed. A galactic anthropologist stepped forward, her voice dry. "Because they never considered these items fashion. They were tools. To them, a jacket is shelter, pants are storage, boots are terrain adaptability, a hoodie is warmth, stealth, identity. Everything they wear serves multiple purposes. So, fashion is war. Number, it's worse." She turned, her eyes hollow. "Fashion is convenience." Back on the ground, Tran stared across the crater-ridden battlefield as Allied reinforcements arrived, heavily armored Sith units with chrome plating and decorative tassels. "Why do they have tassels?" Marlowe shrugged. "Cultural. Probably a rite of honor or—" A sniper beam tore through one tassel. The Sith screamed, spun in place, and dropped. Marlowe adjusted the hood on his jacket, zipped it halfway up and muttered, "I'm telling you, minimalism is a combat doctrine. Do they even test their gear? They test it to look good. We test ours to not die." At Galactic Supply Command, the panic reached new heights. "Redesign the exosuits," barked Director Lix. "More storage, more mobility. But the aesthetic flow, scrap the aesthetic flow. Give me pockets, damn it." 3 engineers fainted. Others stared at human blueprints with wild eyes. Simple fibers, overlapping panels, zippers. The zippers confused them most of all. Why use a mechanical seam when you could program a molecular binding seal? Because, as one analyst discovered, zippers don't short-circuit when dunked in acidic rain and then slammed into a rock repeatedly. Some species began reverse engineering Earth attire, others began importing Earth tailors. A few just surrendered and asked Marlowe if they could buy his hoodie. "Not for sale," he said smugly. "Sentimental value." He had 5 more in his bag. Then came the now infamous scarf ambush. During a blizzard raid on planet Corvex, Lieutenant Sasha Ortega repelled an entire enemy unit using nothing but a scarf, snow boots, and duct tape. How? She wrapped the scarf around her arms and hands, dipped it in frozen mud for stiffness, and turned it into a makeshift shield and whip. Her boots had traction from Earth's winter design. Her duct tape, well, it was duct tape, the most feared tool in humanity's survival arsenal. Alien scouts later referred to her as the wrapping ghost. From that point on, scarves were reclassified as Class B tactical tools in several systems. Alien propaganda ministries launched damage control campaigns. "Humans are not fashion leaders," one broadcasted. "They simply mistake chaos for function." But it was too late. The Zerat mercenaries began wearing flannel shirts for warmth and intimidation. The Beryl traders swapped their silk robes for bomber jackets lined with LED flares. The Vrokan elite converted their gilded sashes into modular belt systems. The human apparel infection had begun. Galactic society would never be the same. At a weapons expo orbiting Helios Beta, the new X-Tactical cloak was unveiled. It was basically a hoodie with marketing. "We call it the Cloak of Shadows," said the vendor proudly. "Inspired by human battlefield wear, holds 22 tools, regulates heat, deflects light stun beams." A Lina general leaned in. "Is that fleece-lined?" "Yes." He bought 20. The booth across the aisle tried selling ceremonial gowns that doubled as flotation devices. They closed in 2 hours. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Marlowe stood in front of a vending unit shaped like a cryo coffin and inserted 2 credits. It spat out a pair of worn jeans. He handed them to a wide-eyed Varnak technician. "Try these. They look primitive. They've got 7 pockets." The Varnak blinked. 7? Fronts, backs, the weird side one for coins and spite. You'll figure it out. The alien hesitantly stepped into the pants. After 5 minutes of adjusting and discovering storage capacity, he gasped. "I feel powerful. Welcome to Earthwear, pal." The final nail in the coffin came during the now legendary hood-up offensive. Human commandos, all clad in different hoodie variants, grey, black, deep green, faded navy, moved through enemy territory entirely undetected. Why? Because everyone thought they were just civilians looting a supply depot, until the depot exploded in 6 places. After that, wearing a hood in a conflict zone became a diplomatic incident. The Galactic Council passed a bill, Unregulated Hood Deployment Act. It didn't help. Nothing could stop the tide now. Human fashion had become the new military gold standard, and the galaxy had no pockets left to hide in. The galaxy didn't fall in a blaze of war. It fell in a wave of online orders. Within months of the Atraxis campaign, Earth's most obscure fashion retailers, once condemned to the clearance racks of suburban outlet malls, became interstellar power brokers. A human company called Tactical Threads went from bankruptcy to buying moons. Another brand, End of the Rack, launched a cargo pants line so successful that the Interstellar Monetary Union had to recalibrate their currency models to account for denim-based inflation. Entire economies collapsed, black markets exploded, and somewhere in the chaos, a bootlegger was arrested for smuggling 97 knockoff hoodies inside a diplomatic envoy's robe. They called it the Cotton Crisis. Corporal Marlowe sat on a foldable crate made of alien alloy, sipping coffee from a cracked mug that read, "World's Okayest Soldier." Across from him, Tran scrolled through a tablet with wide eyes. "You've gone viral," she said flatly. Marlowe squinted. "What, like, with the flu?" "No, you idiot. There's a galactic meme thread about you. They're calling you the Hooded Wraith." "Dope. Do I get royalties?" "Unlikely. One of the memes shows you drop-kicking a drone while pulling snacks from your jacket. Caption says, 'Humans, battle-ready and blood sugar stable.'" Marlowe considered that. "That's not inaccurate." Somewhere on the 4th moon of Thalrix, a military think tank was reviewing battlefield footage. One video showed a human soldier sliding down a rocky incline on a reinforced jacket, using it as both shield and sled. Another showed a private pulling a flare from her sock. The sock. Not a tactical holster, just a sock. "This is unsustainable," wailed General Curran of the Scalari. "We can't retrofit our armor fast enough, and their clothes are growing in power." The analyst nodded gravely. "They call it layering," the room screamed. In response to the spreading fashion threat, the Council attempted a formal counterstrike. It was called Operation Fabric Storm. The plan was simple: disrupt human supply chains, hack their clothing logistics, block their fabric exports. It failed immediately. Humans didn't have centralized logistics. Half their field gear was bought from surplus stores, home-sewn or borrowed from cousins. A battalion of Earth Marines once landed on Velen 5 in thrift store outfits with patches that said, "Volunteer Librarian." They still won. One alien commander was found muttering in a trench, rocking back and forth while clutching a knit beanie, whispering, "It's not even armored, it's just warm." Earth's fashion companies weren't ready, but they adapted, quickly. Weather-worn Industries, originally a niche supplier for hikers, launched the Void Walker vest, a sleeveless monstrosity with 11 pockets, 3 detachable panels, and a built-in solar charger. It sold 40 million units before the month ended. Alien retailers tried to compete. They failed spectacularly. One company launched the Quantum Pants, which attempted to use wormhole fabric tech to provide infinite pocket space. The pants exploded. Twice. Nobody could match human absurdity, because humans didn't design fashion for function or beauty. They designed it with the chaotic optimism that anything could happen, and probably would. Ambassador Jarala of the Meshtari Confederacy stood at the United Planetary Assembly in full ceremonial robes. Beneath the robes, a hoodie. It poked out just slightly, grey, with the drawstrings dangling awkwardly near her collarbone. A scandal. "Ambassador," hissed the moderator. "That violates uniform protocol." "No," she replied, voice cool. "It enhances protocol. I carry 3 data chips, 2 translation drives, and my reading glasses in the front pocket." A murmur spread through the chamber. A delegate from the Aruvian systems adjusted his scarf uncomfortably. Another flipped up a hood, pretending it was for lighting reasons. By week's end, 40% of the assembly had transitioned to stealth casual. The revolution would not be tailored. Back on Earth, Marlowe received an invitation, not a deployment order, not a disciplinary notice, an actual, printed invitation. He held it suspiciously like it might bite. "You are cordially invited to speak at the Intergalactic Design Council's Emergency Forum on Human Apparel and Adaptive Utility," Tran read aloud. "Dress code, flexible." "Are they asking for fashion advice?" "Looks like it." Marlowe looked down at his outfit. A hoodie he hadn't washed in 3 campaigns, jeans with mysterious stains, boots that had been through snow, lava, and whatever that stuff was on Krillath Station. He shrugged. "Guess I'm qualified." The Design Council event was held on a diplomatic platform orbiting Luxar 9. It was very sleek, very clean, very pointless. Delegates wore decorative tunics, glowing scarves, capes with optional levitation fields, and into this circle of style elites walked Corporal Marlowe in cargo pants and a jacket that still smelled faintly of alien sulfur. Everyone stared. He gave them a double thumbs up. "Sup." They stared harder. The head of the Design Council, a species known as the Yriks, cleared its vocal folds. "Human Marlowe, we seek understanding. Your people's fashion defies logic." "That's kinda our whole thing." The Yriks twitched. "We need answers." "All right," Marlowe said, cracking his knuckles. "Lesson 1. If your jacket doesn't help you survive a jungle and sneak snacks into a movie theater, you're doing it wrong." Murmurs spread. A Ralvon delegate gasped. "They use garments for stealth-based food acquisition?" "Yes, and warmth, and emotional support." "Emotional?" Marlowe nodded. "You ever cry in a hoodie? Hit's different." 3 delegates burst into tears on the spot. As demand for Earth clothing reached absurd levels, counterfeiters emerged. Bootleg, human hoodwear shops popped up in asteroid bazaars. Some sold garments with slogans like "Earth swag activated" and "Pants the pocket dimension." One store offered authentic human hoodie, possibly worn by human. Inside was a bathrobe with duct tape, still sold out. Earth tried licensing. It made things worse. The Universal Translator couldn't handle Earth brand names. One alien planet mistook Old Navy as an ancient military sect. They've been saluting mannequins ever since. Despite the chaos, one thing became clear. Every galactic species that adopted human fashion saw a rise in survival rates. Weather casualties plummeted, tool access improved, battlefield mobility increased, morale went up, and above all, pocket-related injuries went down by 94%. Because for the first time in galactic history, everyone had somewhere to put their stuff. And somehow, that made people kinder. Even the warlords, especially the accountants. It all led to one moment. A formal proposal to the Galactic Council, Motion 722-Delta. Let all species be allowed to integrate Earth-based fashion into formal and military attire, effective immediately. Optional hoodies encouraged, socks mandatory. The vote was unanimous. Even the sockless empires conceded. Humans didn't just change fashion, they changed the function of fashion. By wearing what made sense, not what made statements. By carrying tools instead of status. By surviving with duct tape, drawstrings, and sheer stubbornness. And as Marlowe zipped his jacket, smiled, and walked off the council platform to a standing ovation, one thought echoed through the galaxy. Human fashion wasn't ugly. It was inevitable. It started with a single hoodie. Now, half the galaxy's elite strike teams were waiting on back orders from Earth. And not just any Earth supplier. A small online retailer named Marlowe's Outfitters, started by Corporal Dax Beans Marlowe and managed by his Uncle Terry out of a garage in Phoenix, Arizona, had somehow become the sole tactical apparel supplier for 37 planetary systems. Their slogan, "If it doesn't have a pocket, it's just fancy fabric." And business was. In a starport orbiting Kressel 3, a full-on brawl erupted over a box of surplus windbreakers. A six-limbed Tharnian diplomat clotheslined a security officer. A scythe colonel threatened to invade a moon unless she got 3 large hoodies with zippers that go all the way up. A tiny Grell scout wept openly as she clutched a fanny pack and whispered, "I feel invincible." That same day, a delegation from the Overrun Empire declared denim a strategic planetary resource. Earth, confused but not opposed, immediately quintupled prices. Nobody blinked. At a galactic summit meant to discuss interstellar arms treaties, the first 3 hours were spent comparing jacket features. "What insulation do you prefer?" asked Admiral Tonrick, adjusting the collar on his Earth-supplied tactical vest. "I like the heat-activated fleece lining," replied High Executive Faelva, sipping from a collapsible canteen sewn into his sleeve. "Also the elbow zippers. Why do humans have elbow zippers? No one knows, but they're glorious." The treaty was never signed, but 6 delegates left with custom-embroidered Earth bomber jackets. Progress. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Department of Intergalactic Commerce had to be rebooted. Twice. The problem? No one had prepared for a scenario in which genes replaced alien currency. "We're seeing entire trade routes disrupted," muttered Secretary Vasquez, reviewing footage of a Grolax mining colony where workers had traded their drilling equipment for Earth denim and never looked back. "Apparently," she added dryly, "cargo shorts are now considered high-value contraband on 6 moons." Aide: "Did you say shorts? Let that sink in." Back on Atraxis 9, Marlowe ran a workshop for Allied forces. Not on weapons, not tactics, wardrobe integration. "All right, folks," he said, tapping a digital display showing a rotating 3D model of a hoodie. "Rule 1, don't just wear it, use it." He grabbed the actual hoodie off a table and demonstrated. Front pocket, thermal flare. Side seam, tactical map. Inner hem, emergency water filter. Then he produced a sock. Bonus round, water purification tablets, stashed right in here. An alien raised a trembling claw. "Is nothing sacred?" "Nope," Marlowe replied cheerfully. "We even stash money in our shoes." Half the room fainted. The rest took notes. Fashion purists tried to fight back. A new movement arose, the robed resistance. They posted manifestos claiming Earth apparel was soulless utility, bland to the eye, and a threat to ceremonial tradition. Their flagship event was a runway protest featuring ornate cloaks, floating ribbons, and kinetic jewelry. The human counter-event, a mud-run obstacle course in hoodies, jeans, and boots, where each participant carried their gear, rescued a downed ally, and boiled instant noodles mid-race. The humans finished first. The robes caught fire. The crowd chanted, "Pockets, pockets," for an hour. The movement dissolved the next day. In a bizarre twist, Earth became the center of fashion exports while barely changing its own style. "People are wearing my high school gym hoodie on Krathian Prime," Raina Tran muttered, watching a galactic news stream. "It still smells like sweat and shame." Marlowe shrugged. Vintage. The galaxy didn't want polished. They wanted proven. Something that could survive a sandstorm, double as a tourniquet, and carry snacks. They wanted gear that looked bad, because it meant it had been through something. Humanity had sold its trauma, and the galaxy bought every thread. Smugglers got creative. One infamous operation involved hiding contraband tech inside layers of Earth socks. Socks. Every alien scanner missed them. Why? Because no other species used them. The galactic market had never needed a sock scanner, until now. Border stations scrambled to invent new tech. Earth just made longer socks. As fashion militarization grew, so did the legends. There was Private Lee, who used his beanie to stop a plasma charge and then threw it at an alien drone, which malfunctioned due to unregistered fabric irregularities. There was Sergeant Booker, who once disarmed a bomb with a shoelace, a breath mint, and a belt loop. And of course, Colonel Vashti, the only known person to pilot a starfighter using her hoodie drawstrings as emergency control wires after the console caught fire. Every Earth clothing item became a weapon, a tool, or a meme, sometimes all three. Alien militaries cracked. One species commissioned a fashion think tank. Another tried to grow their own fabric trees with built-in pockets. A planetary regime tried to clone a hoodie. They got a snake. The universe collectively gave up and just imported from Earth. At a secret council meeting, a grim revelation surfaced. "We are now dependent," murmured Chairman Veltok. "For the first time in history, We do not control our tactical supply chain. Earth controls it. How much of our military is wearing human apparel? 87%. What happens if Earth stops shipping? The room went cold. A voice whispered, "They have the monopoly." Someone screamed. Another fainted into a pile of scarves. Earth hadn't conquered the galaxy with weapons. They'd done it with drawstrings. Back in Phoenix, Uncle Terry took a call. "Yes," he said between bites of a microwaved burrito. "We can do a rush order. What size?" A pause. "You want 95,000 units of the Freedom Flex jacket?" A beat. "Yes, the one with built-in utensil pouches. I see. Tactical soup ladles." He scribbled notes. "Got it. Color preference?" Another pause. "You want camo pink?" He grinned. "You got it. Planetary invasion, but make it fabulous." As Earth's gear spread, so did Earth's attitude. More aliens began customizing their clothes, adding patches, graffiti, snarky quotes. One elite squad wore matching jackets that said, "We came, we saw, we had snacks." Another force wore jeans with embroidered slogans like, "I survived a plasma blast and all I got was this pocket." Human culture was leaking, and no one could stop it, because for the first time, the galaxy didn't want to look regal. It wanted to look ready. It started with a delay. A shipment of thermal hooded combat jackets en route to the Hilaris Border Command simply didn't arrive. Within 36 hours, 5 planetary battalions were down with frostbite. By day 2, a Gralaxian general made an emergency broadcast. "We request immediate reinforcements, or at least more socks." But Earth remained silent, not aggressive, not apologetic, just silent. And the galaxy began to sweat. The Intergalactic Assembly convened an emergency meeting. Again. "There's something wrong with the humans," hissed Ambassador Zetol, clutching his ceremonial sash like a comfort blanket. "They're not answering messages. They're not responding to purchase orders. Their website just says, 'Out for maintenance.' What does that mean?" General Marker of the Linar stepped forward, grim as ever. "It means," she said, "they're up to something." They were. Back in a bunker somewhere under Nevada, Earth's Strategic Fashion Council, a committee that didn't exist until 6 weeks ago, was meeting in secret. The members, a general, a retired mall manager, a fashion blogger, 2 ex-Marines, and a former substitute teacher named Gloria, who once sold over 500 windbreakers in a week. At the head of the table sat Marlowe. Same boots, same jacket, same hoodie. "Time to make the galaxy understand one thing," he said. "You don't mock the jacket and expect to borrow it later." Gloria nodded solemnly. "They laughed at my fanny pack once. Who's laughing now?" Everyone, but only because she was now sitting on a literal throne of credits. The plan was simple. Earth had cornered the fashion market, so now Earth would use it. Not for conquest, not for revenge, but for negotiation. It was called the Pocket Doctrine. Marlowe presented it to the Galactic Assembly with a laser pointer, a whiteboard, and a box of assorted Earth garments labeled Evidence. He stepped up, adjusted his hood, and cleared his throat. "Let's get one thing straight," he began, deadpan. "This wasn't a plan. It was an accident. We wore what worked. You laughed. You bled. Now you're cold, underdressed, and begging for tactical hoodies with snack compartments." A murmur, a few sobs. "Earth isn't here to rule. We're here to equip." He clicked the pointer. Slide 1. A diagram of a cargo pant with 14 labeled compartments. Slide 2. A hoodie schematic with emergency use tags. Concealment, thermal, storage, emotional stability. Slide 3. A sock. Caption, "Don't underestimate the sock." Someone screamed. "What we're proposing," Marlowe continued, "is a fashion alliance." Gasps. "We license earthwear. You follow basic human design principles. In exchange, we guarantee full, uninterrupted supply chains. No more rogue black markets. No more knockoffs with built-in wormhole malfunctions." He paused. "And in return, Earth gets voting rights." Chaos. Pure intergalactic chaos. Delegates stood, shouted. One alien fainted into a poncho. "Earth is not a founding member. Earth is uncultured. Earth wears flip-flops in public." Marlowe raised a hand. "Yeah," he said, "but you're wearing our boots now." Silence. checkmate. The vote passed by a staggering margin. Even the robed resistance caved. Earth was granted full voting privileges in the assembly, and not just one seat. 27. One for every continent, region, and major fashion subculture. The representative from Earth's streetwear division was a guy named Trevor, who wore a backwards cap, 3 hoodies layered, and carried diplomatic documents in a skateboard backpack. His opening statement was, "Yo, we in this." He received a standing ovation. Diplomacy changed overnight. Old traditions died. Ceremonial armor was replaced with flannel-lined jackets. Treaties were signed in pockets and handshakes. Negotiations included hoodie samples and fit tests. One alien species refused Earth fashion for religious reasons. They froze to death in a week. Nobody made the same mistake again. The council built a statue. It wasn't of a leader or a weapon. It was a giant, 10-meter-tall hoodie with a plaque at its base. They mocked it. Then they depended on it. Then they wore it proudly. The humans. Every visitor was encouraged to pull the drawstrings and whisper a diplomatic wish. Some claimed the statue could heal stress. Others just used the pocket to sneak in snacks. Either way, it became the most visited monument in the quadrant. Marlowe retired quietly, refusing all medals. He returned to Earth, opened a second-hand tactical gear store, and never told anyone that 98% of galactic defense logistics still ran on gear he helped design. One day, a young alien cadet wandered into the store, shaking, unsure. Marlowe handed him a jacket. The cadet blinked. "But I don't deserve this. I failed the entrance trial." Marlowe leaned in, grinning. "Rule 1, kid. It's not about looking good. It's about surviving and carrying your own snacks." The cadet wept. The jacket fit perfectly. Earth didn't build an empire. They didn't fire a single planet killer. They didn't weaponize suns. They didn't need to. They just dressed appropriately. And while the rest of the galaxy debated form over function, Earth walked in late, tracked mud across the carpet, and saved everyone's life with a jacket that had a granola bar in the lining. Because humans don't conquer with power. They conquer with pockets, and the galaxy will never laugh at a hoodie again.